a.m., Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. I'd like to welcome everyone to a special call meeting. This morning, we'll have a prayer and the pledge, and then after we finish with this violation.
And that's a double whammy because it's a gator.
I'll have the prayer this morning. We'll stand. I run across the prayer on the computer. I'm going to read to us, and I think it's kind of fitting. Lord, you rule in the kingdoms of men. The earth and everything belongs to you. We are only but stewards of the things you have granted us, including the nation. Lord God Almighty, let there be calmness in this nation. Sudden terrors are causing us to be filled with anxiety. Lord, help us to focus our gaze on your Son, Jesus, and not on what is happening all around us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item of this morning's approval of minutes from our March 17th, 2020 special call meeting. Do I have any comments, or do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Fleming, got a second by Commissioner Hale. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving right along, I have a consent agenda this morning, items 2 through 7. Do I have any questions or concerns, or do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hale. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Harris, do you have any further discussion? Anything?
No, sir. I will submit to the commission that it's very difficult to get anything meaningful done these days in the office. It's just a constant phone call from agencies all over the place wanting to know what we're doing and how we're doing it and to what extent, and lots of people, calling us, just individuals wanting me to theorize on how long this is going to last. But if you've got anything that you need done in your districts, just let us know and we'll make sure it gets done. It's easier to get things done outside the office than it is inside the office these days with all the commotion in the office. And I'm sure that's true with all local government agencies right now.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just a question. Do we know if and when or what we would take any action as far as any of our, whether it be your everyday staff sheriff or the supervisor of election or any of our other county employees? I mean, have we looked into that?
Everyone's working right now. Everyone's been encouraged to maintain safe distances and, exercise all the precautions that everyone's heard about on the news every day. So that's what we're doing right now. Library's the only place that we've shut down to the public. And I don't mind telling you, that's the only place that I've gotten 3 or 4 emails from with people complaining that we won't pay them to go home. And I'll be quite frank with you, it's kind of irritating. I have responded to some of those emails. Some of them I haven't responded to, but there's another one I plan to. The reality is that due to the large size of the library buildings and the small number of employees, they've got a greater opportunity to maintain a much greater distance than any of your other county employees or departments. But my read of these emails is simply that, one, they don't want to have to use their accrued annual leave if they choose to go home and stay home. And they have that choice. That's a choice that they can make at their own discretion. It isn't, we haven't mandated that anyone stay in the workplace. And I'll just say for the record, we've never denied an employee's request to go home and use annual leave or sick leave. So I think the preference of at least one of the writers of an email was that we allow the employees to continue to bank their accrued annual leave and sick leave, and at the same time go home and stay home and just receive a paycheck. And we just don't do that. And I don't have any reason to believe that any other local governments are doing that. In fact, I was listening to some of the, I've listened to some of the governors and various local elected officials across the state and across the country on some of these news networks. And I've heard every single one of them state clearly and profoundly that they don't have the financial resources to even pay employees to just sit at home. And they're looking to the federal government to step in. If there's going to be any type of financial relief during this time, it's going to have to come from the feds, because the local and state governments simply don't have the resources to do that type of thing. But right now, I don't envision making any changes. That doesn't mean that if we get a new executive order tomorrow or later today that says we've got to shut down all government offices, then we'll go ahead and do that. But I don't anticipate that right now.
I think the governor said that, excuse me, I think the governor said that over the weekend that he wouldn't shut down. He would curfew businesses before he shut them down in the state of Florida. And I know, I think we've got 7 or is it 10 states now that are, I think 10 states now that are down to some sort of a stay-at-home order. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see where it goes. We're somewhere on that list, I bet. As long as we can get law enforcement to allow us to go get food from the Gulf of Mexico, I'm good. I mean, if we had to stay at home, I mean, that's kind of home.
That's good, but you can't get toilet paper from the Gulf of Mexico.
I know. But
Might be able to dry some seaweed or something, but
You say sheriff does more than that now?
Yeah, just like you're saying, it's not like a mandate, but it encourages, to stay home. I think like 15 states now.
we have some counties in the state of Florida that have put in a stay-at-home order. But
Yeah, I think that the governor, he may, I'm not sure he's done yet, but, like, Broward, Dade, I think Pinellas, 3, they're the ones with the highest number of going down there, so I think they may enact something there for them, or like a stay-home order.
I got a question. I don't know if you want to answer it here or not, but over the weekend, we heard that there are, of the tests that were run in this county, most of them come back clean, but we had a few of them that were outstanding, still waiting to come back. Do you know anything about any of those latest numbers? I know from as far as the Department of Health, we're still in the clear, but I just didn't know if you had something unofficial.
No, you get the same information that, well, we always have that 11:15 briefing at the EOC, but that yesterday afternoon, it was all clear.
Good.
There might have been some tests that hadn't come back yet, but right now, everything's negative.
As long as I understand what outstanding actually means, they just hadn't come back.
They do the collection, and then they send it off to actually the testing, and that takes, not getting it down to a little quicker time frame, maybe 1 or 2 days.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I talked to my son last night down in Gainesville. He was saying that they were gonna have a curfew, I think, starting tonight in Letcher County.
Yeah, Oxford County, you're right, Oxford County they're doing it, because they've got,
Yeah.
they're way up.
36
For
cases.
whatever reason, I think because of the college kids not
Yeah.
adhering to the curfew.
Curfew, yeah.
And so, Oxford County, I think.
They starting tonight.
Yeah.
yeah,
What
we're-
time will that be?
Midnight.
Tonight at midnight.
I'm saying, what times will it be enforced, though, the curfew?
It's a shutdown,
This is shut down.
just for all non-essential services.
I got you.
They issued a 10-page emergency order yesterday. I have a copy of it if the chairman would like it.
I just got from work myself, but we are down to a bare minimum that some trucks that we don't write, essentially like the food supplies, hauling water. But we can do the car haulers and other little simple things. something simple, but
Yeah, let them overload those food trucks and toilet paper trucks.
we can't stop them. Can't touch them.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
talked to Mark Hunter yesterday, last night, and I think the commissioners over there, they have, I'm not sure, just, they've enacted some type of curfew on the internet cafes over there, because they was staying pretty crowded. We got several here, I'm not sure, we can contact, see, I would have a number that who's going there, but I understand there's quite a few people in the cafes we have here, so
I,
I'm sure if that's something
yeah,
you look
I'm
at
glad
down
you,
the line.
I'm glad you brought that issue up. I don't know if we're able to address that, or it's in the city. I don't understand that, but I'm,
The county has, under 252, we now have the jurisdiction over all of it.
well, if that's the case, I'm ready to do something about it.
What county had has the internet cafe locked down?
Columbia.
Columbia County does.
Columbia.
They done it yesterday.
Okay.
Because of, because, you know, what the governor has acted, it did address the internet cafes. And then we had the, College Sheriff Association yesterday, and that was brought up, not just Columbia County, but several other counties had this issue. And they was gonna bring it to the governor's attention. I'm not sure if that governor's gonna act on
wanna do an
that or
amended
not,
order
but not the commissioner.
right now?
I can amend it.
Huh?
We,
Can we,
Yes.
we can
Thank you.
act on
Okay.
it now, but
that's not the
let me,
question.
okay, well, let me,
Go ahead.
but while we're going along with that, you know, because we're enforcing this, what y'all have directed is that you're enforcing to the CDC, you know, requirements and all that, and if they're not spacing, doing whatever they're, you know, inside the facility right now, y'all have the, you know, the ability to go ahead and disperse them
And
without
Okay,
moving forward
what
with
did that call
stricter
the-
requirements.
What, you say, what would that call, 24 what?
2252?
252.
252?
Well, I mean, my thoughts is if we can't go in a restaurant anymore and sit down and eat, and it was spaced out before they moved forward and done away with it altogether. I mean, I just feel like the traffic's gonna pick up in those places because it's still available for people to go and people don't have anywhere else to go. So now we're gonna step up even more people and they're already crowded. I just,
Mr. Chairman, I was gonna ask a question. You say more crowded. Do you have any idea, Sheriff, how many people are at those facilities?
when I go by there, they're parked in the street,
Yeah.
along the side of the street.
I don't have any numbers with you, like I say, we're glad to, you know, start doing some checking, just kind of see what kind of numbers are there, and then, get back with y'all or something on there.
I don't wanna wait a week though. I mean, we need to do our part.
Don't have
How
to
many
wait
do
a
we
week.
have,
I mean,
Sheriff?
You can meet as often as you would like, and as long as you have 3 people that are there to satisfy the quorum requirement.
You want to do it now?
But we can do it now if you want to.
Mr. Chairman? Can I
Yes,
ask
sir.
a question? This question that I had was aside from social distancing and everything else, if they were compliant with everything, can we legally, without a challenge, discriminate against this group as compared to other, like retailers and stuff like that, that if, and I'm saying if they were compliant with the social distancing mandates, can we just kind of pull them out without the governor coming back and adding that to the list of businesses such like your restaurants? Because what I don't want to see is a challenge on it. I'd like to see them come into compliance with what's there. I just don't want to get ourselves into something that they go, well, you're just discriminating against us because you don't like us or whatever.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know, you know, just like these, you know, just like the restaurants, you know, if they don't, now this is the governor over here, but, and I'm sure the, internet cafe would be the same thing, that if they didn't comply, then we make a report and we report it to, you know, I guess it's whoever that, in city limits of Live Oak, and they would attack their licenses, or they couldn't operate a business, so
Okay.
something there that they would have to comply comply with whatever order we have, if not, they tax their license.
I just don't understand the complication with it. I mean, you can't have you're not supposed to have a group of more than 10 people together.
I
I mean, if
agree.
there's 25 people, we can't even go to church.
Well, it's
I mean-
a recommendation, it's not a prohibition at this point. You know, and that's what I'm saying, you know, if you go into the facility, this is what the recommendation is, you know, to be able to disperse them, you know, like that. You don't have a directive from y'all, or even from the governor at this point, you know, they're recommending breaking up crowds of more than people on the beach and, you know, that type of thing.
So do we want to start out by asking the sheriff to research it and have a discussion with these folks? And then go back and spot check, and if they're not in compliance with what he's asked them to do, then we move forward.
With the state's recommendations, I think that's a great idea.
I just don't want to get
Chairman.
yourselves into.
Would you be willing to do that, Sheriff? Well, you come up to the microphone for us, just in case, where you can be heard for the record while we're having this discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I think, there were some discussions, with my pastor, he said they had a conference call, a governor's conference call about some cancellation of services, worship service. We canceled our services Sunday, probably gonna be canceled this Sunday, until further notice. So I think, you know, we're kicking it down the road again, that if these internet cafes are open and there's more than 25 people in there, more than 10, I think we should just go ahead and do it. I think we should,
Like
just have it-
Mr. Richardson, you know, was pointing out, though, we don't have any other restrictions, we're just following recommendations. Are you gonna only restrict that? And, you know, I know,
Well, the governor has ordered a lot of things to be shut down.
yeah, but it's not on the list,
Well, I understand,
yeah.
but that isn't construed discrimination, and that he hasn't, to date, identified other businesses that may yet be shut down. Last Friday, we had a wave of executive orders come through. I mean, it was all day long. And it was pretty apparent, I thought, that it was the result of people communicating back with the governor's office and those others that are working on these issues with them, and they were saying, oh, okay, well, then we're going to add this to the list. Now, some of those were being, it said were being enforced by the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. There are others that aren't regulated by DBPR. So that would leave it to local law enforcement to try to enforce.
Well, I see this happening too, though. If Lake City closes theirs today or tomorrow and the next day or two, if you don't think those folks won't drive over here
Yeah.
and share some time with us, you watch and see.
We're fine.
Well, let me ask you a question. You tell you retail, I can make an argument where retail is an essential service for goods and items needed for everyday survival. Internet gambling, I can make a case where that's not an essential service. It's just a gathering. I can make a case where going to church and getting food for your soul is an essential service. And that's been voluntarily canceled, so.
And voluntarily is the thing, and if these guys don't want to follow those guidelines.
The question, again, I go back to this whole issue is obviously, I don't want to get ourselves into a legal bind here. So in reality, I'm asking counsel on this is that, number one, do we have the authority? I believe we do. The question is, are we putting ourselves into a situation where we could be accused of discriminating against certain groups over another one simply because of our opinion, we decided that it wasn't essential? Or should we, or is there anything that under the governor's orders right now that we can use to curb their behavior, like the social distancing? If they're all under recommendations and not under orders, then I don't see where we can.
I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Richardson, but my thoughts is we're supposed to be looking out for the well-being and the best interest of the people in this county.
All the people.
And not just the ones that's in that cafe. And if by some shape or form they choose to think we're singling them out, that's, we'll deal with that. I feel like we need to do something about this, and we need to do it soon, is my thought.
Mr.
I think,
Chairman.
I feel like that's what Commissioner Fleming was saying. I'm just kind of, yes, sir.
Just real quick, Sheriff, do you know how many cafes we have?
I'm trying to think, I think we've got 3 of them.
3 of them?
Yes, sir. But like I said, I'll be glad to, we'll just monitor them and just kind of see what kind of numbers are there. We can even talk to the owners, managers, and tell them, about, what the governor's order is about as far as, 10 people, in a gathering. And see if, I'm not sure if they'll self-police themselves or not, or we would have to step in, but I'll be glad to monitor it and just kind of see what numbers we're looking at.
You good with it? I mean, I'd say let them know that also this board is looking at that, not just the governor, but,
Yeah.
It's a decision that we're ready to make.
And something may come out from the governors, because on our Florida Sheriff's Conference yesterday, there were several counties that had that same question that we had about the internet cafes, and those days he couldn't get the message to him, so he may have something come down.
Well, I know
okay with that,
it's not been, it's been
We
posed
take-
by the restaurant owners here.
Sir?
I said, I've had their question raised by restaurant owners here,
Oh, yeah, I have.
wanting to know why they had to shut down, but the internet cafes did.
Yeah.
Well, let's just make a decision.
This is-
10 or,
This is the comment that was made, if Columbia County know that we open over here, we open up the floodgates, they just gonna pack it. And now you gotta come back and redo it and do it all over, revisit that all over.
I mean, I think we're sitting here, we understand there's cases in Lake City, and I hope those, I hope everything gets better over there, but I mean, if we realize they're fixing to close something that's gonna bring an avenue that folks can come this way, that, I mean,
And they
it
will.
seems like we're not doing the right thing.
When we didn't have them and they had them over there, there was people
traveling.
going over there every day.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's
Why don't you
very,
just vote, shut them down?
sir,
Why don't you just shut them down? Just tack it on.
Chairman, I have to be bold, I'll
Tack
motion
on
that we
this.
just shut them down.
Sure.
We can just tack it right on to this,
I,
Emergency.
I'd like to have a finding, though, that they're not complying with this, that they're not complying with the social distancing.
the nature of their business isn't compatible with
driving.
the social distancing recommendations
Let
from
me-
the CDC and the governor's office.
Let me ask you this, Jimmy, can we give the sheriff the authority to shut them down if he finds them over 10 people or outside of the range of the,
Sheriff has the authority now to shut them down if he so desires, if they're not.
but you say you want a finding, I mean,
If y'all are gonna close them down, I want a finding from y'all that says
Gotcha.
that they're not complying with recommended the social distancing thing, and you find that it's an extraordinary situation, for the possibility of the passing,
And I hate to say this or do this, Mr. Chairman. Is that something, Sheriff, you could find out in the next day or two, and maybe we have to come back Friday for a meeting?
All you have to do
Well,
is drive by. I mean, if you've driven by and lived,
Well, I understand that.
it's obvious.
They could be driving 2 vehicles up there.
Can we, Mr. Chairman,
I
can
hate
we,
to lose 2 or 3 days.
I get you.
Mr. Chairman, so the question is can we do something conditional? If he finds that they're out, can we go ahead and just put something in place and say, look, these guys have got to be in compliant with that social distancing recommendations from CDC in the state of Florida, and if they're not, then you have the authority to shut them down. But what if they come back and say, well, we'll get in compliance,
That's just
That's
creating a
our-
whole,
How about this? Can we say, if the sheriff sends his deputies out, immediately upon the premises, your guys coming in and you see that there's more than 10 people, just handle it then. And if it continues to be more than 10
I
people,
don't, I'm concerned that I don't even know if the 10 people thing comes into play though, because some of them so small that you couldn't get spaced out. Some of them just.
yeah, I don't know the square footage of them.
means-
so.
How
Oh,
many do we have? I know where the big one is.
3.
I think we do need to do something, because that is seems to be the only business that's not trying to comply or be a team player in this fight against the virus.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I just simply say that I'm okay with if the board wants to shut them down, I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure that we're not backing ourselves into a legal corner, that's all. I mean,
We probably will for about 2.5 hours.
until he gets a recommendation out at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. So I'm good with whatever. I'm not going to put the motion on the table, but I'm good with whatever y'all want to do.
I have a motion.
If we have I offer the motion. My motion still stands. If we have the jurisdiction over the city, and you said it was 252, we have the jurisdiction over the city, I think we should just shut them down. Be through with it.
I have a
My
motion.
motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleming. Do I have a second?
I have one question before, just to make sure, going back to council. Does it set us up in any way whatsoever? 'Cause we got enough going on to worry about someone trying to sue us.
If they're going to say that they're discriminated against for their non-compliance, good luck with it.
I'm going to pass the gavel. I'll second Commissioner Fleming's motion. I got a motion and a second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Okay,
By
I'll
vote.
draft this as a separate, instead of adding it to this, I'll draft it as a second, or, in the format, it would be an order coming from y'all that way, a resolution coming that way.
At what point will this be enforced? Will it be ready to be enforced?
Be enforced as of, right, what, 9/28?
As of 9/28 a.m. on March 24th, 2020. So you have your direction now, Mr. Sheriff.
You, at this point in time, you want them all to make contact, and they all shut their doors.
That was our motion.
Yes, sir. We'll take care of it.
Thank you. Mr. Pravat, you have anything else for us?
No, sir, I do have the form of the resolution, but I see I got a spelling mistake up there, and I don't want to, I'll get it back to you in just a bit.
Okay.
Otherwise, you've seen the executive orders that, that have been coming out, and they have been, as the governor's indicated, going to be coming in, continue to come in stages as they investigate different businesses, different counties, and definitions of what essential services, are. Like the one that came out from Alachua County last night. It's 10 pages long, extensive definitions on what essential services are, to be addressed. I think the board needs to be prepared in preparing itself and addressing all of those issues. The governor said yesterday afternoon that he's not looking at a state of shutting everything down. But in the end, we just need to be prepared, for that. And so, just keep that in mind. It'll still be in stages,
Yes.
at this point, so.
Thank you.
Would that be, Mr. Chairman?
Motion.
Would that be just in case they're doing what Alachua County did?
Well, they took a step past where the governor is right now in shutting things down. They went past that. They utilized some of the definitions that both the feds and the governor had said about what are getting to be, or their description of what essential services are, and trying to, say, okay, for instance, like church, okay, church is defined as an essential service, but they're still limiting 10 people,
Right.
to, for a gathering, and, going, as they get together. That type of thing, okay, if you're gonna have a shutdown, stay at home, like they have in Alachua County, okay, what are you allowed to be out of the house for, to be doing? And a lot of it has, regular working capacity and stuff, keep the businesses going. and which is what the governor's, idea is, you want to keep going on services that you can, but then backing up and saying, okay, if you're not going to get takeout, stay home. If you're not going to get batteries at CVS, stay home. If you're not going, that type of thing, so.
Yes. Commissioner Hale, do you have something? Commissioner Richardson, closing statements.
Before you ask that question, I actually was going to ask another question, and I can't remember what it is. No, the question, I don't remember what it was. The question I have for council is are you saying, is it something that we as a
I'm in a board
county
meeting.
need to take a good look at as far as our defining of essential services, like Alachua County did, what they believe essential services are, or are you simply just saying that we just need to wait until the governor?
I'm not
I mean,
suggesting that you wait. What I'm just suggesting is, I saw the meeting coming to an end, and he asked me a question, and I was saying, we need to be looking and preparing, for that. The governor may define and narrow it down, and take care of it, all for you. But that being said, we need to be preparing the county for what we can do, as we move forward. Mr. Harris has already taken, a number of steps there with the employees, getting that all in place. But the same thing here with y'all, to be able to say to business, what businesses and how they're gonna be able to, operate, and so that y'all can prepare and get your mind right and being able to explain it whenever your constituents, get with you, at that point.
I hope everyone stays safe, and I think the most important thing is that people just need to use common sense, of course, and sometimes common sense is not as common as we think in these situations, depending on your viewpoint of this virus. But I don't want to see our county turn white or green or whatever that color is on the computer screen that shows Department of Health that we actually have cases. For the record, our church has not closed Sunday morning services at this point. However, we only had about 9 people there Sunday, and we're now broadcasting live on Facebook. So I think that's a lot of churches are doing that now, and it's becoming something that happening. But I just hope and pray people start taking it seriously, because it won't take long before this thing starts to get out of hand, and I don't want to see it happen.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Fleming, closing.
I think this was I feel like it's important to me that we do what we have to do in order to start coming back. But if we do have to come back, this has been eliminated. But I was looking at a graphic on the state of Florida this morning, say the Sunshine State is probably, it's going to get worse. And I think this is a way to curtail some of it. I know it's airborne, but what gets me is that if it's in Columbia County, and some of those individuals may have, look, come over here, and the next thing you know, it's blowing all up. We just have to be prepared as much as possible. I know it is, I know we're covered by the blood, we say that, but we still have to use precautions. You have to have as Ms. Hinkson said last week, the uncertain. That uncertain is out there. But we have to be prepared as much as possible, that we're not allowing some things to happen.
Yes, sir. Anything else? Commissioner Gamble, comments?
I got one question, I guess maybe for Mr. Harris or the attorney. And y'all may not know because they won't talk to us, but has anybody been in a conversation with the hospital on their current status moving forward into this, whether they're going to continue to move forward, shutting down?
I haven't spoken to them again. The last word that they gave me was that they couldn't tell me anything until after the closing. And
May 1st.
I don't see that that's going to change.
I was just wondering with beds and and the spread, and if they had reconsidered that, for at least in the short term.
I don't have any reason to believe that they have. Now, that doesn't mean that if their numbers get stacked up over there and they're at full capacity,
Right.
that they wouldn't use this. I think they probably would as an overflow.
I will go on record saying I reached out to I guess that's the CEO in Lake City.
Right.
Left him a message. He never returned my call. I think Mr. Harris has spoke with him, but, and feel confident he didn't return my call because he's not allowed to talk to me. So, I'm not saying he's a bad fella. It's not that he didn't want to call me back.
What gave you that idea?
I wanna feel confident. It's not that he didn't want to call me back, he just couldn't. So, anyway, anything else, Commissioner Gamble?
No, just as we move forward, I'd ask the board to reflect deeply and pray on all of this, because moving forward to looking at curfews and stay-home mandates is not something I'm looking forward to doing, and I don't take it lightly. I hope that we can avoid that at all costs.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Commissioner Hale?
I just agree with what pretty much every one of you guys have said. These are challenging times, trying times, and I think we've got some more rocky roads ahead of us, as our community, as our nation, as this board, our sheriff's department, our first responders. I think there's a lot yet to come. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. But I just want to say I appreciate all you guys, and I know we can get through this, put our heads together, let our community, without a doubt, lift this thing up in prayer, because that's the only way we're going to defeat it.
That's it.
That's the only way. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I forgot one thing.
You always do.
I know, but I wanted to make sure that this is on record. There's a lot of growing number of crafters that are sewers that are out making non-compliant, but yet at least masks for some of the residents at the nursing homes and such. My wife's one of them, was asked to do 100 of them. Anyone who can make them, just look for people who are doing it, get the pattern. If you can make it, make them, get them out there, because obviously the less they have to put the surgical masks on, the more those surgical masks can be used for situations where we know we're trying to contain something.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Harris?
I do. Did I have that look on my face? You are correct. A couple of things. One, just a little technicality. The county attorney is going to go ahead and draft a resolution to reflect the action that the board has taken. I'd like for the record to reflect that the chairman will then execute that once it's completed, rather than come back and have another called meeting for that purpose.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure and clarify that. I will say that, anyone who has followed this very closely, it's pretty evident that there are many locations around us that look just like ghost towns right now. I think we have a lot of people that recognize the need to be compliant, and they're doing so, and they're doing a tremendous job. And I'm thankful for that, because even here, it looks like a ghost town in the evenings. When I'm going home, the city's empty for the most part. It's been incredible. So we've got a lot of people who are taking it upon themselves to be compliant with all of the recommendations. But the difficulty, I think, that we're going to experience is that people get antsy after a while. We're not used to being caged up. And the unfortunate reality is that today we are closer to being where we should have been a week ago. So when the president made the recommendation on this 15 days, we didn't get there or closer until just this past Friday and Saturday. A lot of the executive orders that came out from the governor's office just hit Friday. So probably a lot of those things should have or could have been in place the Monday before. So while everyone is saying, okay, we want to be compliant, and we're believing that if we stick with this thing for 2 weeks, it's going to potentially flatten the curve. The reality is, we're just now starting the 2 weeks today, or yesterday. So I just wanted to point that out. We really aren't, we're just now starting, in my opinion, with a lot of the actions that maybe should have been in place a week ago. So this next 2 weeks might be the 2 weeks that help us make a difference.
Yes, sir. Anything else?
No, sir.
I know we all got places to be. I want to share a quick little story with you, though, a little history lesson here, since we're all together. My father-in-law, he lived to be 93. He fought in World War II, and some of you I've shared a little bit of the story with in the past, but my mother-in-law, she, on March 30th, she'll be 92. But anyway, over time, we've had discussions, and as most of you have learned in history, during World War II, when this country was attacked, everybody in this country wouldn't work, pull together. We've had discussions. They had ration tickets for gas, for food, for many other things. The car manufacturers, they turned around and started making airplanes. And I just believe if we could do that many years ago and come out on top, that we're going to come out on top with this. So a lot of that history, I feel like our leadership is looking back on it now and seeing how we done it that time and how we come through it. And we're using those lessons to help us fight this. And I feel like we got some challenging times. I feel like it's far from over. But I asked this board, and I feel like with what we've done this morning, I always want to be proactive and not reactive. So with that being said, we're going to do the best we can moving forward, and we're going to fight this thing. We're going to come together as a community. Also, I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and my heart goes out to many people. I have family members that's laid off. I have a daughter that's not working that was in the restaurant industry. But you help those folks. They're going to need help. You got family members that's not able to work. You do what we've always done as a country. You come together and you take care of you. You take care of your people. That's what you do. This is you got very few, a little small percentage out there that wants to take advantage of a situation that is a very serious situation for our country and our county. And it frustrates me to no end that we spend hours and days arguing with folks that doesn't have the best interest of our county or our country at heart. It's self-serving. And I'm asking those folks to do the right thing and realize it's about a bigger picture than just themselves. That's all I have this morning. If I have a motion to adjourn.
Real quick, you just said something that, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, and I can't imagine it ever happening here, but I just want to ask the sheriff if he's heard of it. I see a big thing on the news and on TV about the price gouging and hoarding and stuff like that. Have you seen any of that locally?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, but I just wanted to ask. Okay,
Loss.
We had an enforcement,
okay.
just that, I think that you go to the grocery store, a lot of the products, the toilet paper and the antiseptics are gone. Now, I think that, maybe people, when they do, Michelle, they probably take more than their fair share, but, they're scared, they're panicking.
Okay,
See, the gas prices going down.
thank you.
Yeah, they said South Carolina gas prices are.
When you can't go anywhere, they go down.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. I know.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion, I got a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Let me tell
And
my
ladies.
story then.